Welcome in to DRF Daily, DRF Sports' brand new sports betting live stream that's coming at you every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern. We broke down some NBA finals yesterday, some player props, some MLB action. We went 2-2 in our picks yesterday, but we had 3 player props open from Wednesday's live stream. All 3 of them hit. Steph over points, Jordan Poole over points, and Jason Tatum under points. So a solid 5-2 day. I believe it is now sitting at 13-6 overall on the week. And we're looking to add a couple more winners today. And we're really excited to be welcoming Kevin Boilard, who writes about PLL lacrosse across the nation, college, professional with the Premier Lacrosse League. And we bring him on now to talk all things lacrosse. Kevin, how are you doing today?
Jack, I'm doing great, man. I really appreciate you having me on, and also it's great to see you again.
Yeah, Kevin and I were coworkers at CBS for a while. What is that now? A year ago, almost.
Yeah. It was last season. I think we went our separate ways, but it was always great working with you, and I'm glad I'm here with you right now to be on the show.
Yeah, I've been following along all of your lacrosse stuff. You got me into lacrosse in a weird way, whether it was through who was it last year that tried out for the PLL and made it?
Come on, Chris Hogan.
How could I ever forget the great Chris Hogan?
Yeah, man, the legendary. He used to play lacrosse. If you didn't know,
Did he ever make it onto a PLL roster? Or was
he did. He was on the Cannons, I think, at first, and then he was on the Whip Snakes, maybe the other way around. But he didn't really play much. He got a couple of D-mid runs, but it really shows that these are high-level athletes. You can't just take an NFL player who's 6, 7, 8 years removed from the game and just stick them back on a PLL field. Like, these guys train year-round, and they're the best players on the planet. It's a tour-based model. So it's like 100 best guys going city to city. It's very competitive.
Yeah, they were in Charlotte last weekend. I'm currently living in Charlotte. I was unable to get out there to watch it, but I drove by as it was happening. And it was kind of a crowded stadium, a lot of tailgating going on. And I was like, these are my people. This looks like it's fun. They're in Long Island this weekend. So where were they week 1?
Albany, New York.
Okay. So going north, south, north. I like that. I like that schedule.
Yeah. It's they hit all the major hotbeds for sure. This is going to be a huge one. Long Island. There's always been a great debate over which was the biggest hotbed for lacrosse, Long Island or Baltimore. Me personally, as a guy who grew up in South Jersey, I'm split between the two, so I'm staying neutral.
That's a good idea. I mean, South Jersey. I mean, I lived in North Jersey for about 2 years, so I have a little bit of I sway one way. I also went to JMU CAA, and they're playing in Hofstra. So I have a little bit of a CAA allegiance there as well. But All that being said, you kind of hit what PLL is. If you want to go a little bit more in depth, but you said it's the tour model. They have the 100 best players, and they go city to city. Other than that, is it pretty much like an NFL schedule in terms of standings and how they do all of that? Or is it more aligned with hockey where they go with points rather than like a win-loss?
Oh, they go by standings. Now there is a tiebreaker. There's only 8 teams, and right now the format is the top 7 make the playoffs. There's a new Champions Series, which dives into whole sixes lacrosse, which is a different brand of lacrosse that they're trying to get more popular for Olympic reasons. But as for the PLL season, they'll take the top 7 and put together a playoff bracket from that, and score differential is the tiebreaker right now. So I would say overall, this is the 4th year. They were uniquely able to kind of weather the COVID pandemic because it was a small league and already based on the tour-based model. So they did a bubble in Utah that year. And I actually think they gained a lot of fans during that time because it was when so many sports were kind of scrambling, and them being kind of startup league, they were more flexible than others. So they did really well in that year and have come out even stronger and bigger ever since. They started out with 6 teams. Then they had an expansion team, which was the Water Dogs a couple of years ago. And then last year they had a merger with the MLL, which was the former outdoor league. And what they did with that is, all the teams from the MLL folded, except for the Cannons, technically. They didn't keep all the same players. They did like an entry draft for that and or an expansion draft. And so now you have one team that's kind of the historic cannons from the MLL. And they tied in all of the history and the statistical stuff, which was nice and neat. If you're a lacrosse fan, it's kind of been a upward climb to break through for pro lacrosse. So to kind of get that synergy between the PLL and the MLL in terms of statistical, historical stuff was cool. Now they just got to get the PLL and the NLL on the same page. The NLL is the outdoor league, which is still going on. And that's impacting PLL games today because there's players in the NLL who haven't joined their PLL teams yet.
Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
I have a kind of a loaded question for you before we dive into this weekend slate. I know you're really big into college lacrosse, and college lacrosse is intense. It's fun. College or PLL at this moment? Which do you prefer?
100% college. And I think if you asked 95% of lacrosse fans would say the same thing. PLL, I will say, is gained more legitimacy than the MLL did. The NLL, as I previously mentioned, has kind of been that league that's been around for forever, but the indoor game is more popular in Canada. In America, it's all about field lacrosse, but I still think that college reigns supreme. And this year we saw Maryland had an incredible season where they went undefeated, had a case for the greatest team of all time. They got a bunch of guys playing in the pros right now.
Awesome. So this slate, you have 2 games today, later today on Friday. You have 2 games tomorrow, one of them being on ABC. Starts it off with Water Dogs against Chrome, 0-2 Water Dogs, then Chrome. Atlas, Whip Snakes. Archers take on the historic Cannons. That was a fantastic little tidbit about the Cannons. Chaos, Redwoods. A few 2-0 teams, few 0-2 teams, and a 2 1-1 teams. Biggest bet, I've just combined 2 of my questions into one. Best team in the league now after 2 weeks. Who do you think is the too early to tell champion?
Right now, you can't really go with anyone other than the Atlas as the best team in the league right now. They've got the best point differential. They're plus 14. They're 2-0. And they're coached by Ben Rubior, former UVA lacrosse legend. And their offense has just been spectacular this year. And it's led by probably the best, most balanced attack line in Eric Law, Jeff Teat, and Chris Gray. Jeff Teat was the rookie of the year last year out of Cornell. And this year, Chris Gray, who was kind of the odds-on pick to go number 1 overall. And then the Chrome surprisingly passed him to take Logan Wisnauskas, who won the Tualatin with Maryland last year. And Ben Rubior has to feel like the luckiest guy in the world to have a guy like Chris Gray just fall to him 2nd overall. So that offense has looked absolutely unstoppable so far. They're all kind of like smaller, shiftier, stick skill kind of guys. So I would be curious to see them go up against a physical, more aggressive defense. But right now, early on with some other teams dealing with, as I mentioned, guys still in the NLL, some other teams dealing with injuries. Right off the bat, hit the ground running. The Atlas looked like the best team.
Okay, I love it. Biggest surprise so far? Who's either done really well that you didn't expect? This could also be a player. Take this however you want. What's the biggest surprise of the PLL so far this season?
The biggest surprise has to be the Redwoods, how bad they've struggled. Early on, they were the 2 powerhouses early on in the PLL were the Whip Snakes and the Redwoods. They met in the first PLL championship, and they also met in the semifinals the next year. And the Redwoods, they just have loaded with star power, big athletic dudes. They look the closest to a team that if you just took a bunch of NFL caliber athletes and put them on a lacrosse field, that's what they look like. And this year just hasn't been working for them. And they're minus 15 in the point differential. Last week, they only scored 3 goals, which is the lowest goal total ever in PLL history. So that's like an NBA team finishing with like 30 points in a game. It's just kind of unheard of. But it's pretty bad. But I just don't think that the formula is working for them anymore. So I thought that the Redwoods would obviously be a better team coming into this year. Maybe their window has closed and it's time to kind of change things up.
Maybe it's the Atlas's time to shine. Whip Snakes also 2-0. You mentioned them. They were the power with the Redwoods. They're taking on Atlas. Quickly, Atlas Whip Snakes, what are you watching for in that game? It's tonight at 8:45 p.m. Eastern. Both 2-0. Someone's going to come out of it still undefeated. Someone's going to suffer their first loss.
I think this is going to be an awesome game. The Whip Snakes are tough, dude. aren't at full strength because they've got Zed Williams still playing in the NLL finals for the Colorado Mammoth. And he was, former league MVP, finals MVP, leading scorer of that team. They still have Matt Rambo, who's another MVP. But offensively, they've looked a little slow to start. It looks like they're really struggling to generate offense early in games, and then they have to claw and fight their way back. They've won both of their games only by 1 goal. So to me, the Atlas looked like the stronger, more potent team. But I think if you're looking for a bet on this one, I'd probably take the under 24.5. I like Atlas -1.5 here, but I think that the Whipsnakes are going to want to try to make this a defensive game. If they get into a shootout with the Atlas, I don't think that they have the firepower without Zed Williams to keep pace with Atlas right now. And then the big matchup in this game that's going to probably decide which way it goes, I think is going to be at the face-off X between Joe Nardello of the Whipsnakes and Trevor Baptiste of Atlas. And those are probably the 2 best face-off guys. And when you're talking about lacrosse, pro lacrosse, is about generating possessions. If you can play make it, take it, you got to, that's how you create runs. That's how, you really change and flip the game script and the flow of the game. So especially with Trevor Baptiste this year, he played for the Wings this past season in the NLL. And I think some of that box experience has really opened him up offensively. Typically in lacrosse, if you're a face-off guy, you win the face-off, you go down, maybe you take an initial run at the net, but you're off the field. This year, what we're seeing from Trevor Baptiste and the way that he's initiating offense off the face-off wins is really unique. And he was already arguably the best face-off guy in the league, and now he's got an offensive element that's pretty dynamic. The Atlas could be really dangerous, and it's one of the reasons why they're dominating in transition right now.
Would you call that the game of the weekend? That was a fantastic breakdown, and it sounds like it's the game of the weekend.
I would call it the game of the weekend. However, just from a matchup standpoint,
Okay.
but Saturday's game, Cannons at Archers, I think that, or Cannons versus Archers, that was, I can't say it's the first flex in PLL history, but in this season it is. They flexed it from ESPN Plus to ABC, and this is the first time a game's being played on ABC in forever. And a lot of that has to do with the star power that could be on the field in that game. We've got Lyle Thompson versus Grant Ament, and they're 2 very different players, but both have an argument for the best player in the league. Grant Ament led the PLL in points last year. Lyle Thompson is kind of seen as like the freak who can do anything and on the offensive end. And they're both dealing with an injury. Lyle Thompson's got a wrist injury. It's listed as an upper body, but I saw him last week wearing the like a wrist brace. And then Grant Amons is a lower body. He was out the first week, doubtful, didn't play the second week, and now he's questionable this week. I think he's trending towards playing, but probably going to be less than 100%. If Lyle Thompson plays, probably going to be less than 100%. But those are guys that you want on the field, even if they're not fully healthy.
Love it. Love those breakdowns. So our writer, Max Sacco, wrote down every single game of the weekend, gave his best bet. He's on Atlas money line against Whipsnakes. What would your bet? Who's your guaranteed winner? And this is how we'll finish it out. Guaranteed winner of the weekend. And that is probably my most loaded question I'll ever ask.
I will give the guaranteed winner to the Atlas. I think that they've looked like the most potent team. They're in their stride early. Like I said, the PLL season, it's all season. There's going to be all summer. There's going to be a lot of flux that happens. So the Atlas may be the hottest team right now. Last year we saw the Archers the first couple of weeks looked incredible. They had like a plus 20 point differential at this point. And then they kind of tuckered out down the stretch and didn't do as much damage as we thought they would in the playoffs. So maybe the Atlas are that team right now. I think they're a guaranteed winner, which is why I go with the money line there. I'm not 100% sure that they'll cover the 1.5 spread because, as I mentioned too, the Whipsnakes are like a gutty, championship caliber team that's going to fight and claw and scratch and not really let the game get out of hand. So it could be another 1-goal game. We've seen both of their games so far, 1-goal finishes. So I expect them to keep it close and competitive with the Atlas, but I just think the Atlas is going to be too strong.
Love it. Love all of that breakdown. That's some fantastic PLL insights. Kevin, where can the people find you? Where's all your work being lives, whatever that word is.
Search my name on social media. I mean, I'm on Twitter, YouTube, Instagram. I would say if you're like into fun, cool content, Instagram's the best place to follow me. But, for my just daily thoughts and stuff on PLL and NFL, anything
And
else,
the Giants,
follow me on Twitter. Yeah. Here's a couple other free bets. Daniel Jones, MVP. He's going to win this year. And another one, whenever the next time Virginia plays JMU in college basketball, Virginia by 40.
Hey, well, over the last 40 years, JMU's 1-0 against. It's probably not 40 years. The last 20 years, JMU is 1-0 against UVA. I don't think they have any more games. But now that JMU, not to go too deep into the rabbit hole of mid-major athletics, JMU's in the Sun Belt now, so hopefully they're scheduling Virginia Tech, UVA. They won't be scared. You went to Mary Wash, right?
Yes.
They won't be scheduling Mary Wash anytime soon over there in
on.
Fredericksburg, Virginia. But someone's got to catch a little bit of a stray there.
Virginia's my team by proxy.
See, that's the wrong team. That's the wrong team. It's JMU, as you can see, my Dukes in the background there, and I have them winning the national championship. As I'm trying to point there, it's there.
Right.
But thank you so much for joining us, Kevin. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and you can follow Kevin everywhere: Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the good stuff. And he's breaking it down and sharing clips of Daniel Jones as he's trying to make the world believe.
Jack, thanks so much for having me, man. Good times.
Have a great day. Thank you again to Kevin for joining us. That's some awesome PLL insights. We'll have Max Sacco on next Friday to break down some more PLL action. Max writes a weekly column for us, giving out his best bets of the Premier Lacrosse League. And you can check that out at drf.com/sports. Thank you again, Kevin. I just learned so much about the PLL, stuff that I didn't even think about, and I'm excited to tune in this weekend. Archers Cannons is going to be tomorrow, 1 p.m. on ABC. Every other game, you got 2 tonight, 1 other tomorrow. Those are all on ESPN Plus, so you can tune in there and catch some PLL action. And moving off of PLL, we're going into some quick MLB bets. Marlins, Mets, they face off tonight. Marlins have not decided who their pitcher will be. Mets are going with Carlos Carrasco as of right now. I don't see a live money line total, anything like that out for this game. So we'll just hit it quickly. This is a start of a 4-game set. Marlins score 4.5 runs per game, and the Mets are 9-1 straight up in home games versus American League teams that score 4.5 runs per game or better. So a little bit of a favorable draw for the Mets. Our power line likes Miami to be favored in this one just barely at -104. However, our Sims are leaning the Mets. So I'm going to go Mets win this one 5-4. I'm going to fade the power line, and that might be against my better judgment. However, last night the power line told me to go on the Mariners, and I followed the power line, and I ended up getting bitten, and the Mariners lost. So give me Mets to win this one 5-4 in a really good game. Marlins, in my opinion, a lot better than their 28-33 record. Mets 42-23, one of the best teams in baseball, and they're doing that without Jacob deGrom or Max Scherzer. So once those guys come back, that their division is going to be fantastic baseball. Moving off of that game, we're going into Cardinals Red Sox real quick. Adam Wainwright against Michael Wacha. Michael Wacha, former Cardinal, helped them win the World Series in 2015. Was one of their pitchers from 2013 to 2019, pitched over 160 games with St. Louis, and he's facing off against probably what was his mentor in that Cardinals bullpen, Adam Wainwright. Cardinals come into this one as the underdog, I believe, +105 it is. Red Sox -115, 7:10 p.m. first pitch. Total runs set at 9.5. Wainwright comes into this one with a 2.84 ERA and a 5-4 record. He's played in 1 interleague game this season. He went 7, allowed just 1 hit, a fantastic showing. Not a lot of strikeout stuff from Adam Wainwright. He's going to let the ball get in play, but his fantastic defense behind him is going to back him up, and he's going to force a lot of ground balls, a lot of bad contact. So won't have high K numbers, maybe go the under on his Ks. I think he only had 2 in his last interleague start, but I think Wainwright can get the job done against Michael Wacha. Give me the Cardinals +105. It's also a certified gold star pick. Our power line likes the Cardinals at minus money, and our simulators also think that the Cardinals will win this one. So give me Cardinals. It will be tough for them. They've struggled against pitchers who don't hand out a lot of walks. Michael Wacha is one of those. They're 7-15 straight up against pitchers. Let me see if I can get the stat right. Pitchers who give out less than 1.5 walks per game. Michael Wacha's hovering right around that number. They're 7-15 straight up in that scenario. However, they're 9-2 in road games after a loss this season. They're also 18-3 straight up and 10-8 as a road underdog. So I really like the Cardinals on the road in Boston. They're going to defeat the big green monster. White Sox, Astros. This is our free game of the day. White Sox, they travel to Houston to take on the Astros in a great game. The 30-31 White Sox are without Tim Anderson. He's actually down here in Charlotte on rehab, but ace Lucas Giolito will get the start on the bump. For the Astros, it's Framber Valdez, who has a 2.64 ERA and a 6-3 record for the Astros. White Sox, they've struggled this season on the road and last season on the road against good teams. They're 9-17 straight up. But overall this season, they're 18-13 on the road and 9-6 as a road dog. Pair that with the fact that the Astros are 16-28 against teams with a losing record. I think I would go Chicago, but I don't trust them totally. I'm going to go Astros minus 165 in this game. Lucas Giolito, he's a fantastic pitcher for the White Sox, 3.88 ERA. He's 4-2, but over his last 3, and this is why I'm leaning Astros. His last 3, he's pitched a 6.89 ERA, and the team is just 4-6 when he starts. Now, you can cherry pick a lot of stats to favor which side you're going on because there's stats that favor both sides in this one. You can talk yourself into Chicago White Sox easily at plus money. I think they're plus like 150, something like that. You can talk yourself into that. Chicago's not a bad team. Yeah, they're 30-31. They're hit with a little bit with the injuries. But at plus 150, you almost got to bet that for the value in and of itself. But I'm not betting for value in this game tonight. I'm betting for a winner. I'm trying to finish this week out on a hot streak. So I'm going Astros minus 165 just because I think Valdez can get it done at a 2.64 ERA, 6-3 on the season. Astros do struggle at home. They do struggle against bad teams, or I guess teams with a losing record. But in game 1 of this series, give me Houston to take down the White Sox. And this is our free game of the day over at drf.com/sports. If you click game of the day at the top of the website, it'll take you to all of the information you need for this, the exclusive betting angles, trends, stats, pitcher statistics, line movements, some of our expert insights, our videos, articles, everything like that. I do differ from Mike Smith, who's one of our MLB writers. He's on Chicago tonight in this game. I'm going to fade that. I'm going to go Houston. Give me Astros to win at minus 165. So all of that breakdown, let's look at some of our recaps for today's action. June 17th, it's a Friday. We're 13-6 overall this week. We went 5-2 yesterday. We went 2-2 in our picks, and then the 3 open player props we had: Steph over points, Jordan Poole over points, and Jason Tatum under points all hit. So yesterday's record, we're calling it 5-2, moving our overall record to 13-6. PLL, I'm going with what Kevin said. I'm going with what Max said. Give me Atlas money line minus 162. I'm not taking Atlas minus 1.5 based off of what Kevin said. I think the Atlas can win, but in a close game against the Whip. All of that is making me lean to the Mets. So give me Mets, whatever that comes out to be against the Marlins. Give me Cardinals as a dog plus 105 at Boston. That's a certified gold star pick. And give me Astros minus 165 against the White Sox tonight as our featured free game of the day. So once again, I want to say thank you so much to Kevin Boilard for coming on today and breaking down PLL action. Was a fantastic discussion with him. You can find that whole interview, that whole talk with Kevin about PLL on our YouTube page. Just search DRF Sports in the search bar. You can also follow us at DRF_sports. And you can find us on Instagram at DRF Sports. So thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a fantastic week of the first week of DRF Daily, highlighted by a fantastic talk with Kevin here on this Friday. We're back next Monday, 11 a.m. Eastern, same time, same place, whether it's YouTube, Twitch, or Twitter, however you're tuning in. Mark your calendars, set your alarms for next Monday. We'll be back with some more winners. Thank you for making week 1 of DRF Daily a success. Until Monday, have a wonderful weekend.